Actually, neurons that fire apart go away. And what that means for our lives is that the things that we do matter, as do the thoughts we think, the emotions we feel, the way we take care of ourselves. For all of this, at heart, is a matter of our neurons wiring up together in patterns or not wiring up together in patterns. Neurons that are not being used, are not a part of networks, are pruned, that's the technical term, synaptic pruning, in order to keep the ecology of the brain fresh and compact. This is a very new and very radical idea for many people who assume that their intelligence, their personality, their qualities and character are carved in stone. I'm just no good at math, we say, or I'm just clumsy, or I can't focus on stuff like that. Or, on the other hand, more positively, but not much more productively, I'm brilliant, I always get an A. Or, I'm a gifted artist, naturally you like my drawings. Or, I'm a natural athlete, of course I'm the fastest in the school. In these days in which we think so highly of self-esteem, it might not be obvious why thinking of oneself as brilliant or gifted could be a problem, especially if there's a reasonable amount of truth to it. Here's the downside, though. If we think of our intelligence or our artistic ability or our physical gifts as a fixed quantity of something that was given to us at birth, we're always having to prove ourselves that we have that fixed quantity of smarts or prowess or whatever. We may be reluctant to take on new challenges because we might discover that there's something we can't accomplish or do easily. We evaluate every new situation with, could I fail? If we do fail, we think not that we failed at this, but I'm no good. There's something wrong with me. Everything is a competition, and we always have to be best to feel okay about ourselves. Ouch. Here's an alternative, sometimes called a growth mindset. People with a growth mindset know that they have certain skills, interests, and traits, but they don't think of them as unchangeable quantities. They expect not to express something that they have, but to develop something that they have. They don't say to themselves, I'm talented. They say to themselves, I'd like to learn that, and I think I can. If they try and fail, they don't think that they're not talented. They ask themselves what another way to learn might be. They allow themselves to ask questions, to get feedback, to take risks, because their goal in life is not to prove that they have something special, but to improve something that's important to them. We tend to learn one mindset or the other, the fixed mindset or the growth mindset, from our parents, our teachers, and our coaches in our early years. If we're mostly around people who told us how smart and talented we are as if we owned a high quantity of these good things, we naturally learn to value ourselves only because of that. But if we were mostly around people who praised us for what we had learned or how hard we had worked, we leave childhood with a different mindset, one that allows us to grow through our lives. Most people adopt one mindset or other without realizing it. They take it for granted as just the way things are. They're often surprised to discover how deeply set other people are in the opposite set of assumptions about life and learning, about what is important. Sometimes just hearing that there's an option is enough to get someone in the fixed mindset to explore a growth mindset. We UUs, by the way, strongly tend to favor the growth mindset. In contrast to those religions which teach that if you're good and lucky, God will flood you with faith and knowledge of spiritual things and you will be born again, all in one fell swoop, or saved, UUs tend to believe that awakening is a slow process which comes with spiritual practice, with learning, with schooling oneself to make good decisions, with service to others, with finding ways to cope gracefully with life's difficulties. That's one reason that we UUs talk about the inherent worth and dignity of all people, because we believe that everyone can learn, change, develop, grow through their lives, and that they deserve the chance to do just that. The highly stratified economic society we're living in right now is a product of the idea that some people are just naturally superior to others, and they deserve all the resources, while the others are just drudges and drones. So all you old dogs out there, and you new ones too, what tricks have you learned lately? Maybe you've learned to use a tablet computer this year, or shop online. Maybe you've learned a new sport, or something new at school. Lots of folks have apparently learned to shop online, they say, and long past adolescence too. So it's true that we can learn, we grown-ups. Every single one of you has learned your way around this new building and the way to the new social hall, because it was that or get no snacks. And hey, that's important. Maybe your learning this year has gone deeper than tricks. Perhaps you've learned not to let that very irritating neighbor get your goat. Or you've learned to meditate in a different way. Or you've learned how to march up to Santa Fe and tell your legislators what you think. If you're one of the folks on the team going to visit the county jail, you've learned a lot this year. If you're one of our after-school or ESL tutors, you've gotten to know someone very different from you. Maybe it goes even deeper than that. Perhaps you've learned how to deal with your mother without too much anxiety this year. Maybe you've learned that you can learn and change and that it's okay to fail on the way. Or maybe you've changed your attitude about money or have come to terms with an illness or a disability or even mortality itself. The new year, which we face in this week, is a marker time in which we often reflect on how we want to be and develop in our lives, we're going to reflect on that in a few minutes. But before we do, let's think about what it takes to be new. To give us a way to remember, I'm going to talk about the piano, which has just been returned to us after being refurbished for 6 months. The old piano became a new one. What was it that made that possible? First of all, you have to know that change is possible. When it came to the piano, I didn't actually know that change was possible. I knew we were having a harder and harder time keeping it in tune, but I didn't realize how worn out it had become, and I didn't know that it was possible, short of buying a whole new piano, to address that. Lynn McLaughlin gets the credit for telling us that change was possible for our beloved 50-year-old piano. If you've been listening this morning and find yourself with a fixed mindset, not at all sure that change is possible, you might want to read a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Because until you know that change is possible, change will be forever out of your control. Secondly, you have to know where you're heading. When we put our old and worn out piano into the hands of the piano rebuilders, we trusted them because they had a plan we approved of. We and they knew what a refurbished piano would be like. You've got to have a plan, a dream, a goal. Thirdly, you have to be willing to let go of all the good stuff that would keep that plan from going forward. Oh, here comes my savior. Thank you. I'm allergic to smoke, and it's gotten smoky in here. You have to know where you're heading. Did we do that? No. You have to be willing to let go of all the good stuff that would keep your plan from going forward. You can't refurbish a piano without taking it apart, without throwing away a lot of old stuff. The changes and the new things that we would like in our lives are the same. You can't become a more healthy person without making time for exercise, and making time for exercise means letting go of some other activity. You can't become a more loving person usually without letting go of some old hurts. You can't become a person with a growth mindset without ditching that old, often very comfortable, fixed mindset that was probably given to you by people who loved you and people you wanted to please. In a few minutes, you're going to see some pictures of the piano in the midst of its renovation. Think about letting go as a part of making new. Finally, you have to give change time. Our piano was gone for almost 6 months for its big renovation, and while it's back now, it's still adjusting to its new self, and will have to be tuned a little more often for a while. Time is a part of all real change. Give it to yourself as a gift. We'll have an opportunity in a few minutes to do some thinking about making ourselves new and think about what we would like to be and how we would like to be, what we need to leave behind, and how to plan for that uncomfortable in-between time that's always a part of embracing something new.